Hello techies. Welcome to our brand new video series focused on helping you get the most of your experiences in life. Before we start the video, let's know about Upptalk. Upptalk is a live, interactive platform for software training, furnishing robust personalities who could take on universal business platforms.
Let's call it as WW. Base pay. Details. Right. This is what we are going to create now. Temporary report. What is a temporary report? If you mark something as temporary, okay. If you mark a certain report as temporary, then it is marked for deletion after 7 days. After 7 days, it will be marked for deletion. A temporary report means that, you don't want it to be in the system forever. You just want to create it for now, because you are looking for something, and you don't. And then maybe you don't want to come back and delete it. It should auto-delete after a few days, right? So if you mark it as temporary, it will auto-delete after 7 days. Okay. So, if you want, you can mark a report as temporary. Initially, you can mark a report as temporary, but later you may want it as non-temporary as well. So let me show you how. I'll first mark it as temporary. Okay. So that means this report is marked for deletion after 7 days. Okay. Click on. Okay, so I'm just going to create a copy of the base pay report. I have named it as WW. Base pay details report and so on. Now this is how the report writer tool looks like. Okay. First of all, we have something called as the data source. Okay. The data source. What is the data source? The data source is equivalent to a table in your database, or it is equivalent to a worksheet in Excel. This is the place where what this has stored its data. And this is the place we need. The data source is mandatory. This is the place we need to retrieve our data from. Okay. In a moment, we'll talk about data sources. So data sources is our source of data. Right. This is from. This is where we will get our data from. Okay. Now next. Thing. These are the different fields that we have as part of our report. Right. We saw this in our report. Output the worker, job profile manager, and the annualized base pay. Right. These are the values we saw in the report output. So it is added as fields. They are added as fields in this particular report. Now let's say I want to add the field. Hire date. I want to add the hire date information to this report. What would I do? I will add a row somewhere here. Right. I'll click on this button, and I'll click on Add Row. And here, what is the field for hire date? It is hire date. Right. So I will go for hire date. Oh my God. OK. This is my hire date field. OK. Now I have added one field. Let me click on one more thing in the Output tab. I don't want it to be a chart at a table. I only want it to be a table. OK. I'll explain it to you what I did. But now I have added one field here that is hire date. Do I also need to add other things? Let's say the primary location, the location of the worker. Can I do that? Try location. Position. Right. Location of the position. Let's search for the field. So location of primary position. So let's call this field as location. OK. What did I do in the column heading override? Column heading override by default is equal to the name of the field. I mean, that is what it shows up in the report output. If you want to change the name of the field to something else, only for the report output, then you are allowed to give a different name. You see here in the last field total base pay annualized in reporting currency amount. That is the name of the field. But what is the value that I'm showing in the report output? I'm saying annualized. If I want to change it, I can make it, let's say, annualized amount. So in the report column, the heading would say annualized amount. But the name of the field is this. If I remove this, let me just remove this for the time being and show you what happens. I removed any column heading override. So now you will see that in my report output the name of the field is equal to the name of the column. In the report output. OK. Now let's run this report. We have added two fields here as part of the report. One is hire date. One is location for the primary position. OK. So let's click on OK. And so we have saved our report. We have copied this to our standard. A standard report to a custom report. And now we have our custom report ready. I have three options here. One is run. One is test. One is done. Right. If I click on done, I will be taken back to my previous page, whatever I was doing previous to this. But what is the difference between run and test? So that gives you something like that, right? Test gives you that the ability to see if your report is working or not. And if you still need to make further changes, right? You might need to make further changes to your report. But test. What test allows you to do is test will run the report. Just like a normal run, but it will show you only 10 records. It will not show the complete report output, it will just show you 10 records. Anybody. If you are familiar with SQL query, remember the head and tail parameters that we mentioned. Select star from. Something is equal to something. Head -10. That means it shows the top 10 results. OK. So test. If I click on test, it will show you up to 10 results. OK. So remember when I ran this for Logan McNeil, it was 325 records came up. correct? So let me test it and give the manager as Logan McNeil. Alright, Logan McNeil, and then click on OK. So how many workers were returned now? Only 10. Right, because we are. Are we running this report? No, we're just testing it. We're just testing it. Right. Now, why is this important? Because in some of the reports it was with all the employees. Right. So that the problem with that is, it takes a...
Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us at sales@uptalk.com.